Lost coins only make everyone else's coins worth slightly more. Think of it as a donation to everyone. Satoshi Nakamoto. Welcome back to What is Your Bitcoin Story podcast with your host Gigi, and I'm delighted to be joined by the brilliant Derek Ross today. Derek has made significant strides in the world of Bitcoin and specifically Nostr with his projects Nostrplebs.com and NostrNest.com. As we explore Derek's Bitcoin journey, listeners will gain valuable insights into the power of Nostr as the social glue that binds all of your applications together. This episode promises to be a captivating exploration of Bitcoin together with Nostr potential to revolutionize the way we interact and share information online. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Gigi. It's good to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure, and as I told you right now off the record when joining the session, I've been really looking forward to getting a full-time Nostr builder on the show since I've been plugging the Nostr questions, and some guests have been saying, "Oh yeah, I have Nostr, but I don't really use it," and some are more inclined to it. But I'm really looking forward to this episode where we can grill more down into what's happening on Nostr, and especially in your case, by building some amazing projects. So thanks a lot for taking the time.
Absolutely, yeah. One could say that, I'm fully purple pilled. So yeah, there'll be a lot of Nostr talk on this episode for sure.
Amazing. So before we go down the full Nostrich rabbit hole, I guess we'll start it with the orange rabbit hole journey. So, Derek, why don't you share with us and we kick it off with what is your Bitcoin story? Where does it begin?
Sure. So my Bitcoin story starts way back in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it has some sorrow. So
Okay.
So I heard of Bitcoin back in 2009. I used to play way too much, if you ask my wife. I played a video game called World of Warcraft.
Oh, yes.
One of my World of Warcraft guild mates, one of my guildies, he told me about this thing called Bitcoin. And me being the tech nerd that I was like, well, yeah, that sounds cool. That's internet money. That sounds neat. So I downloaded Bitcoin QT, I think it was back then, and installed it on my gaming rig. And I was CPU mining Bitcoin. And I remember the Toast notification popping up and saying like 50 coins were found and all that stuff. And that was cool. Fast forward like a month or two later, maybe 3 months or so, I'm like, man, I don't know what this thing does except for run 24/7. It makes my computer never shut off. My office is really hot because my computer hasn't turned off in 2 or 3 months. And every time I want to play World of Warcraft, I have to stop this mining software because it slows it down too much, and then I start it back up again when I'm done mining, or when I'm done raiding or something. And it was interfering with my World of Warcraft time. Damn it! So after like a couple months of, I know, priorities, I wanted the game, and I got tired of starting it and stopping it and starting it and stopping it. So I uninstalled it, and then I didn't care about Bitcoin for a few years later. I remember in 2013, I was browsing Reddit, and I saw somebody mention Dogecoin, and I'm like, oh, hey, I remember a bit. That's kind of like Bitcoin. I remember that. And then I started mining Dogecoin, and I mined Dogecoin for, I don't know, like 6 months or so. Bear market of 2014 hit, and I didn't really know what was going on. I just thought it was another cool, fun internet money. But I was smart enough to sell my Dogecoin that I was mining for Bitcoin. I did do that. I mean, I wouldn't say like I had a little bit of an inkling that Bitcoin was better, but not much. I still didn't do any research. I still didn't really know what Bitcoin was or Dogecoin really was, besides something fun. So I sold, and then I remember watching the balance the balance of Bitcoin stayed the same, but the value in fiat dollars throughout 2014 started going down and going down and going down. I remember watching that, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta sell. Like, what?
I missed the boat.
Yeah, I know. So I sold it. And then I literally didn't care about Bitcoin again for like 6 years, like until 2020 happened.
Just to pause you sold just the Bitcoin that you converted from mining Dogecoin, or including like the early mined ones? Or what happened to the early mined Bitcoin? Or that was just lost?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The early mined coins, they're long gone. See, back in the day, whenever I would throw out a hard drive, I would physically destroy it, and I would take the
Oh wow.
platters out of the drive, like little metal discs, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I would turn them into mirrors, and there's all sorts of like cool artwork and do all sorts of nerdy stuff with it. So I have like, like $100 million like vanity
Posters.
mirror, like yeah. So they have been long gone for so long. Yeah, those coins are gone. No, I it wasn't a whole lot of money.
So I picked a good opening quote for Satoshi Nakamoto, I guess.
Yes, exactly. My mistakes in 2009 made everybody's coins worth more
Slightly
money.
more.
Yeah, so you're welcome. You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Derek.
And that's fine. Like, it is what it is. I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't really understand monetary policy until I watched more money printing than ever happen in like 2020, and all this fiscal policy changed, and money printing was, going rampant, and I started thinking, okay, well, this can't be a good thing, and for once in my life, like, decide to look into money, and and saw a lot of people talking about this Bitcoin thing. And I'm like, oh man, I remember that thing. I mined that thing 10 years ago,
Huh? So
um,
what happened during the gap in between, like, I think you said we stopped at 2013-14 with a bear market,
yeah.
you sold everything, and then you just forgot about it. You said,
I
I'm leaving
I
this.
focused on, I had 2 kids in that time frame, and family life, and just work, and and just didn't really pay attention to anything, just kind of, built my family, I guess, instead of my
Hmm.
stack. Um, but in 2020, like I said, I was back to paying attention to things and started looking into Bitcoin. Discovered the orange rabbit hole and started reading books and podcasts, as we all do. And
Yeah.
and then you got to shitcoin a little bit, because you're like, oh, okay, all these things are the same, right? Like, what's the next Bitcoin? And you go
Yep.
down that, you make those mistakes. And then you start looking at the differences between all of them, and you're like, oh, okay, like Bitcoin literally is unique, and everything is trying to chase Bitcoin and replicate
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, but everything else is pretty much filled with charlatans and scammers and everything. So yeah, fully Bitcoin maxi, I don't know, since 2021 at some point, early 2021, I think, something like that. Sold the shit coins and just been stacking sats ever since, I guess.
Amazing. Well, it's incredible. Kind of you were so early on in this kind of revolutionary tech that
Uh,
I guess we will ever have, ever had, ever will have, and then kind of it dazed away, and then, like, as you said, nearly a decade later, it came back,
yeah,
and like, woof, with all this money printing, I guess, looking at the history books and what happened in other countries
yep,
printing away, it doesn't end up really well. But yeah, what a story, and you're not the first guest, Derek, that was mining Bitcoins with on a GPU on their laptops. And still yet there's the guest to be on the say, oh, you actually kept them, like everybody lost
yeah,
them. So this random number approximation that 3 to 4 million Bitcoin have been lost, I think it's way more than that, because all the
oh
people that
yeah,
were early on, nobody in their wildest dreams could imagine, Bitcoin being thousands of dollars that it is today, and potentially in the future at some point millions of dollars. It would just be, cuckoo. Like, no way
oh
this is
yeah,
going to be worth so
yeah.
much.
There's probably 5-7 million who no one's ever really going to be able to know, but there's probably a lot more than most people think
Yeah,
lost. Just looking at all the people that were in early, messing around over the past 15 years, even, there's a
yeah.
lot lost. But
And
that's
most of the
okay.
Bitcoin,
Everything's
what
more valuable.
correct. And most people getting into Bitcoin today, they don't realize that like 94% of the Bitcoin has already been mined in those early days. They're like with 50 Bitcoin on average every
Yeah,
10 minutes being mined in each block. There was so much Bitcoin everywhere that it was so easy to just, scoop up thousands of Bitcoin and just lose it away.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
that
I
it
remember
was too
doing
easy.
a CAPTCHA. That everyone always shares that CAPTCHA image where you fill out
With
a
the
CAPTCHA. And,
Gavison
yeah,
faucet, right?
yeah, from Gavin, where you got 5 Bitcoin for just typing in a CAPTCHA. I remember doing that. I literally remember that. I do. Um,
And we need
but
to do it just to get into like our Reddit thread, right? Just to prove we're
yeah,
humans.
yeah, but
Training
it's
AIs for free.
for free, yeah. But no, they're all gone, they're all lost, but it's all part of the
The
growth
journey.
and in the journey. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it made me show up on your podcast today, so I don't hate it.
Hey.
Like,
No, for sure. So I guess then the second question is how did you find Nostr, or how did Nostr find you? How's that story go?
so I was pretty active on Bitcoin Twitter 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to call it the Great Jackening event. Jack Dorsey in the middle of December 2022 said, "Hey, I want to fund open source projects. What are some projects that need funding?"
Mm.
And people recommended Signal, people recommended Calyx OS, Graphene OS, things like that. But then things I've heard of and used, and then someone mentioned Nostr needed funding. Well, what the hell's Nostr? I've never heard of it. Um, Jack had said something along the lines of, "Hey, Bitcoin Twitter, you should check out Nostr. It has a lot of the same properties, ethos, yada yada." And I see all these Bitcoin developers that I've heard of before talking about Nostr, working on Nostr, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, smart guys are saying it's cool. Maybe I should check it out." And I looked into it, and since like December 15th, I think I mean, after like day one, like I was like, "Oh, this is awesome. I'm full in," and kind of slowly winded down my Twitter usage. And then kind of what really I guess sealed the deal for a lot of people is also in December of 2022, Elon Musk, he had just taken over Twitter maybe a month or two prior, and people were starting to share their Nostr like profiles, their public keys on Twitter. And
Mm.
he made a policy saying you're not allowed to link to your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, or your Nostr profile. And immediately everybody says, well, one, what the hell is Nostr? And two, why does he say that these social platforms with billions of users are as important as this hodgepodge hacked together thing with like 1,000 users? Like, he literally said Facebook with 2 billion users is just as important as Nostr with 1,000. So that made everybody, including myself, say, "Oh, well, maybe we're not dumb. Maybe we're onto something here. Maybe it has a lot of potential." And
Mm.
kind of the rest is history. Like, the Streisand effect kind of happened after that, and a lot of Bitcoin Twitter started jumping on Nostr and embracing it, and I was there as well. And my Nostr story kind of grows from there. I wanted to build on Bitcoin. Like, I'm an IT guy. I'm kind of technical. I do this kind of tech stuff for a living. Have for a while, and I wanted to build something with Bitcoin for a while. But I'm not a full stack developer. Like, I'm not going to build a
Mm.
full application from the ground up. I can do bits and pieces here and there, but I'm not a legend like some of these devs are. But Nostr allowed me to participate and to build something because it was very simple. Nostr's very simple, and I figured out early on that I could do some bells and whistles, some enhancements to the Nostr experience for people. And I started selling. Well, at first, but I didn't sell. We'll backtrack. I started giving away Nostr addresses. Some people call them
Mm.
NIP05 IDs, but that's really technical. All it is like an email address for your Nostr public key. It allows you to be found and searched for and easily identified. You're not going to remember npub 124
I was
ABC, and
gonna say, instead of like
like
an NPub with like
yeah,
30
you're not
plus
going to
characters, it's
you're not going to remember that. But if I say, "Hey, I'm Derek Ross at Nostrplebs.com," there's no other
yeah.
Derek Rosses at Nostrplebs.com. That's like my
Mm.
email address or my Lightning address for Nostr. It's my Nostr address, and it's really easy to remember. So I created one for myself. I created my website's derekross.me, so I created one for myself, and everybody that was following me on Nostr started seeing derekross.me as my name, and they're like, "Well, hey, I want one of those. That's cool. How do I do that?" And I said, oh, well, you just need a website, no big deal. And they're like, oh, I don't have a website. That is a big deal for me. I was like, what? You don't have a website? Like, okay, all right, well, I can set you one up. I could do that. And I said, well, I don't want to set you up on my website. Like that doesn't make sense. You're not going to be gg@derekross.me, right? Maybe you'll be gg at Nostrplebs.com, like Bitcoin plebs,
Yeah.
Nostrplebs. So I bought that domain name, set up a simple website, and started manually registering people. And then one of my friends, she sent me like 10,000 sats for setting her up with one. And I was like, oh wow, people were gonna like give me some Bitcoin for this like 2 minutes worth of work. Okay, that's kind of cool. So light bulb moment, I started charging. And then immediately, like, people were DMing me left and right on Twitter, on Nostr, and like, hey, can you set me up with this? Hey, I want one of these. I want one of these cool little things,
So it went into
and
a full-time job creating
yes.
all these domains.
Oh man, and I started buying other domains and giving people other options and choices, and like Nostrplebs.com was born. I ended up working with a developer friend then to build an application to where users could register and pay the Lightning invoice and do all this stuff, themselves, automate the whole process, and built some customer support tools for the back end. And it turned into a little business out of nowhere. And it was nuts. Like, I thought maybe I was going to do this for like a dozen friends, and then maybe I'm not totally oblivious to maybe that some of them telling their friends, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
maybe 2 dozen people or 3 dozen people I would do this for. But man, like, fast forward today, we're at like 7,000 registered users, I think.
Wow. I was
Like,
gonna ask, like, what's the rough number? Like, is it hundreds of thousands? Wow,
yeah,
7,000 plus.
yeah, yeah. But
Incredible.
that's pretty cool. Like, it's for somebody that just wanted to offer a service to
Of
people on
course.
Nostr, and we do a little bit more than that now. A little bit more than just the Nostr address. Like, there's a directory service, there's Lightning address forwarding, and then what else? Oh, email also. So you can like receive email at your Nostr
Hmm.
address, and email will go to your DMs. So just simple, but little bells and whistles, but things that aren't overly too complicated to do. And
Nice.
I was able to do that, and that kind of brought me into the forefront of Nostr, and people started coming to me then saying, hey, you have this service about Nostr, you seem to know about Nostr, how do you do this on Nostr? And then I kind of fell into this like tech support role, like, this app does this app does that, here's how you do this and that. And it was a crazy couple months, like the first few months of 2023. It was wild. But all of that, like, brought me here. I'm on your podcast today. Like,
No, of course,
it,
and I hear sometimes on Nostr, they call Derek the CEO of Nostr, right? Because whenever there's questions, it comes through to Derek. And even in BTC Prague, where we didn't actually get a chance, unfortunately, you were one of the people that I really wanted to connect, but there was so many things happening that I didn't get to. But I did listen to your panel. And it was funny how Emiliano was always saying, like, oh, if you have any questions, like, go over to Derek. He'll help you out the Nostr booth. And it was all these
yeah.
like tech support
Well,
things. And you were just there, like, nodding your head, like, no,
like,
don't
man, I'm
stop
busy
sending me
enough.
people.
Yeah. Million said, oh, if you have any problems, just DM Derek. I'm like, dude, my DMs are already on fire. But I love help
No,
from people, and I try to get
of
back to
course,
everybody. So that's fine. But it's a big joke, and the whole like CEO thing was there is no Nostr
of
CEO, so
course.
it's a meme, it's a joke. I get it, and I laugh. But then you mentioned Prague. At Prague, they meant to say, well, they listed me on that panel you talked about, and my title said founder of Nostr, but the next line said plebs. So it was founder of Nostrplebs, but it cut it off due to like space constraints. I couldn't list the whole thing across the top.
So
So then
founder of Nostr.
everyone started like taking a screenshot of that, founder of Nostr, and cutting off the plebs on the second line and sharing it. And I was like, oh man, you guys are gonna get me in trouble. Like,
I
and then
guess Fiat Jeff wasn't happy about
oh,
the
Fiat Jeff
title.
doesn't care.
I'm
Fiat
joking.
Jeff's like he thinks
He
it's
had a nice chuckle.
hilarious.
Yeah.
He thinks it's hilarious. Like, Fiat Jeff's a great guy. I talk to him often.
Well,
He,
of course, you're on the executive team. I mean, it would be strange if you don't speak to Jeff, right?
yeah, yeah. Fiat Jeff hired me. But I stepped down. I don't know if you saw there. The new CEO is a friend of mine. His name's Jeroen. He was presenting on Nostr in was it at the Bitcoin Thailand or Bitcoin or at the Nostr Tokyo? I'm sorry, the Bitcoin Tokyo conference last week.
Hmm.
I forget
No, I
which one
didn't
it was
see.
at, but it was in Asia. He was at both of them. I forget which one this panel's from, but he's the moderator of the panel, and it listed his name, and they did the same thing. It said CEO of Nostr, like. So he takes a screenshot of his name in this pamphlet and he sends it to me and I'm like, hey, that's fine, man. You're the new
He
CEO. I
took the
love it.
seat.
I love it. You are now in charge.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to just retract back to
Yes.
one amazing thing, which you said, kind of how Nostrplebs came about, which is in my eyes the best way to launch a business is through finding a solution to your own problem and then just offering that solution to the masses. Which I think that's the most natural and the most, call it, organic and free way that business should
Yeah.
be done. But in today's world, by going and I'm a victim of the modern kind of schooling system where you go to a business school and they teach you that the whole point of a business is to make a profit. So everybody's there scratching their heads. What kind of junk can I sell to people to make X amount of fiat? Uh, not caring about the customer support, not caring about the actual value that you're giving to your customers. So actually, the real businesses are done through these organic ways, as you lived yourself, Derek. And that's what I love, the example that you're giving here to people. More people and younger generations, the Gen Zs, should really think hard about not how much money they can make on making the next TikTok, but think of a problem that they have in life. How can I solve that? And then give that as a service to other people. Because
Absolutely.
for sure, you're not the only one with that problem.
Yeah. I mean, I was the first one to think of doing this, I guess, or at least implement it. The
Yeah.
first, Noster service provider, and now there's a dozen or two probably doing the exact same thing. Like somebody has to try to solve that problem first, and
Yeah.
I wasn't looking to do anything majorly big, and wasn't trying to do something that was going to make me rich. I just wanted to provide a simple service for people, and it was like truly organic. I kind of fell into this thing and kind of after I realized, well, I guess this is my thing. I guess I'll embrace it and turn it into something, and I did. And yeah, I think that we do see a lot of that. Like, we do see a lot of these low effort, low proof of work business initiatives that are everywhere today,
Correct.
and that's not what Nostrplebs or NostrNest, like I didn't talk about Nest yet, but that's like
I
not
know
what
that's
these
coming
are.
up.
Like I'm literally just trying to make people's social experiences better and offer them a service that I want and I want to use and I do use. Like
Yeah.
that's all.
Well, you need to have skin in the game. It would be kind of hypocritical to be creating these projects
Yeah.
and these technologies and then using it yourself. Is kind of
Yeah.
hypocritical.
Oh yeah, and also with Nostrplebs, like I know that not everybody wants to use a service for their Nostr address. Like they
Yeah.
have their own business, they have their own website or whatever. I've helped dozens and dozens of people, taking sats out of my wallet to help somebody because I don't really care. Like if you came to me and said, "Hey, I'm a Nostrplebs customer, but I'd like to set this up for my website," I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll help you set this up. Like, I want people to be able to host their own, and understand the why that's important. So yeah, like it again, it wasn't a go to market, try to make money initiative. It was just filling a need and providing a service for people.
And that's the nicest thing, when you're kind of working at your own pace and with any no kind of pressure on your shoulders, getting some seed funding, and then you need to give X amount of returns to investors and all this like peer pressure, which just like drives people insane. And hence why most businesses fail, right? Especially startups. I don't know, like some ridiculous number, like 95, 97% of startups fail. And then specifically startups in the Bitcoin space, it's in the 99.99%
Oh, I'm
of,
sure.
it's even harder. But at the same time, the other side of the coin is there's so much stuff to get built and fixed
Yeah.
and even simple things, which should be kind of like a very attractive and exciting thing to people, where everybody's kind of in the fiat minds, thinking, oh, I hate the world, everything is going terribly. Well, why not switch your view 180 and look at this brand new digital world that we're building, where everything needs to get built. It's like Minecraft. Like, you just need to get a block and start building it
Yeah,
around, and just fixing small things. There's so much to be done, and you don't need no
yeah,
VC funding, no pitching, no none of that. Just work on something small, just like in your case. You set it up from something small, and then here we are, less than 2 years later, with 7,000 people, that you've helped on board, and are doing other things, which we'll get into in a bit with NostrNest, and who knows what will happen in 2025 and
yeah.
2026. It just keeps on compounding.
And that's why Noster's so cool, because it's so simple, and we're also so very early that
Yeah.
so many different services and applications and can be built right now, because we need everything. Like, we literally do need every type of service. So if you're a builder, or an idea person, and want to contribute somehow, you can with Nostr. And that's what really enticed me to the protocol and to the community, because everybody's building or creating, and it's just really, really infectious to see all the positivity around all the building and all the contributing. Because whenever something is built and the developer posts their update or is excited about what they built, we're excited too, because we're getting a new app or a new
Yeah.
service or an enhanced service. Like,
Everybody wins.
everybody wins. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to happen forever. It's not going to be that way. But right now, everybody's winning, man. There's no losers here. Like, everybody's winning. Even the
True.
scam bots we had recently, sure, they sucked, but they were if you look at it, from a technical standpoint, it was educational. It was
It
teaching
was.
us what we needed to do to make Nostr stronger and more sustainable. Like,
and
everybody's
it made
building.
and it made people clean out the relays, like
Yeah,
double think, why am I connected to so many relays? I'm sick of seeing the reply guy a million times scrolling through
yeah.
my notes.
Yeah, do you really need all these relays? Like, it just, like, it was good. Was it annoying? Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, like, it was not that big of a deal, and it was a good lesson for us.
It was, and definitely on the part of annoying, it's definitely not as annoying as the crap that you get fed on other platforms, like
Yeah.
on X and the Instagrams and everywhere, and all the advertising. They just get
Oh,
bombarded all in your face. I would,
oh yeah,
all day prefer seeing the reply guy just copy paste stuff instead of like things, getting trying to get brainwash me to take different sides or the agendas, and all this
yeah.
political stuff coming up now, with elections around the
Oh,
corner.
I'm so happy I'm
It's
not
just
on these
ridiculous.
places during the election cycle. Like, I deleted all my socials a while back, but oh man, it would be horrible to be there. I would literally hate it. Like, you would just, I mean, on all these other platforms, you doom scroll and you leave feeling bad.
Of course.
Noster, you bloom scroll and you leave feeling good and happy. It's just,
Which is
we don't.
incredible, which is like the only, like, if we take like the whole building aspect of it, and Zappin, of course, actually getting value for the time that you're putting into the different notes, and kind of the
Yeah,
information that you're providing. Just the fact that it's a positive feeling leaving that platform, is fascinating to me. How more people are now jumping on, how they prefer to doom scroll through all this, um,
people are
social
addicted.
medias. I guess so. And the other case that I get from a lot of guests that come on, and I ask them, I kind of try to purple pill them and tell them, why don't you start, dedicating more of your time and efforts and, proof of work on Nostr instead of X? And I get the same reply, which is, well, I've invested so much time, I have a huge following there. And I'm like, okay. I was like, but you realize at some point that this platform's going to go down the shitter along with your followers. So
Yeah,
why don't start building your followers and actually, getting, and to me, having, I have I have a near non-existent account on X. I just broke 1,000 followers not long ago, but to me, it doesn't really mean anything, because most of them are bots anyways. And it doesn't matter if Gigi has 1,000 followers on X or someone has 30,000 followers. I would argue 70% of them are bots anyway. So who
yeah.
cares how many followers you have? It's just a stupid illusion numbers game. Oh, I have, X amount of thousands of followers, but it's crap. Whereas on Nostr, you actually, even if you have, like, I have 200 followers on Nostr, but to me, it feels so much more powerful because the people I know, the real people, and they're people that have the same point of view with me. So when I'm posting something to my 200 people that follow my notes, it feels so much more engaging and powerful than, posting something on X that has 1,000. And especially when I post something about Nostr and I do hashtag Nostr, it like the algo just like shoots it down. I get like maybe 20 impressions, like on a
Yeah.
good day, 35 impressions. Like nobody sees it. So and
Yeah.
and I hate
Oh,
it,
I agree.
like being suppressed by
Yeah.
freedom of speech.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I think people see this happening, and their attention is constantly up for grabs, whether it be from algorithms or advertisers or both, and it makes us angry.
Mm.
Like we see this, we're going to see ads, we know we're going to see controversial content, and we're going to
Oh
see
yeah.
things we don't like to keep us engaged because it keeps us enraged. So we got to keep scrolling, and these algorithms, they're rage algorithms. Like they're not good. Like no one's built a rage algorithm on Nostr. Now it's an open protocol. Somebody could, but but no one's built that because we people recognize what's bad elsewhere. Like
Correct.
humans don't want to be mad all the time. So
Yeah.
so yeah, Nostr's just really a breath of fresh air, and if you really embrace it, you see that, you see the difference.
And another thing, like with so many conflicts happening around the world, like no matter when I go on X, and I try to restrict myself from the X content, but every time there's something about wars and people dying and people getting stabbed, and it's just so much violence. Not ever in my 1 year history on Nostr have I saw any violent video of someone getting stabbed or like a bombing or like none of that, which is so much more zen. And like Nostr to me is such a more stoic experience when you compare it to all other social media platforms. And to me, like I'm not just there yet to kind of delete the X, because with the podcast, like I still wanna, I see myself as
You
my
have
X
work to do.
engagement.
I get it.
I've got my work to do. I'd like to see myself as the gatekeeper, like bringing people over to Nostr, like slowly trickling down. But definitely, I've narrowed down, and I deleted the app off my phone, so I only have my Amethyst and my Primal app. Those are my only two social media apps on my phone. The X was gone from my phone, so I only do it on the PC whenever there's a new episode every Thursday. I put it out a few shorts here and there, but my GMs and my GNs are only on Nostr.
There
They
you
don't
go.
go on
You got to
X.
drop a PV on Nostr too. Yeah.
Yeah. We that's the next step. Well, we're always looking to improve and scale. So I'm only getting started. As I told you, Derek, I'm just over 1 year into the podcast, and I want to do a lot more other things. And my plan, like in the next 12 to 24 months, is to go full time into this. And then
Awesome.
when I have full time, then I want to do a lot more things and create my things. And I also want to do what you're doing, Derek, is helping other people. Maybe not on the side of the Nostr specifically, but just so many people entering the space, like how to buy non KYC coins, how
Yeah.
to set up and run your own node. And, it's so easy nowadays with amazing, open source companies like with Start9. I've
Yeah.
actually just a few weeks ago, I built my own I bought an old, what's it called? HP Elite Desk of like an eBay store.
Yeah.
Changed the RAM, put the SSD in, bam, within 2 days, the whole blockchain was synced and got it up and running. I'm actually
Love it.
currently in the process of editing the video where I buy the thing. It's a full-on opening, how easy it is to change it, download it,
Yeah.
set it up. And just helping people, get a little bit freer. Because to me, maybe I won't be making so much money as I currently do in my double fiat mine that I do every day. But I don't wake up and I'm super ecstatic about what I'm about to do. And it's involved in advertising, which I personally, it's ironic. I work in advertising and I hate
You're
ads.
stealing our attention. Like
So, yeah, well, not that one, some of it, but it's, I've also got two
but
kids,
but
a
but you
4 and a
see,
2-year-old.
yeah, you see then the other side. But yeah, I mean, kids like to sleep in a house and like to eat. So you
True.
have to do what you got to do to provide for your family.
And more than that, like I like stacking sats as much as I can every month, because I know this sub 100. Even though one thing I don't talk about on this podcast is the fiat price of Bitcoin, because I always say, like Walker, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. It doesn't really
Yeah,
matter what the fiat price is, but still, we primarily live in a fiat dominated world,
we
and
do.
my bills are, priced in fiat, not in sats, unfortunately. So I'm doing all I can to stack as much sats, because now it's not anymore my pension fund, it's my kids and grandkids future freedom
Yes,
fund. So to me, I'm doing the most I can to stack as many sats, but then at some point I realized that I want to also dedicate myself and time more to them than stacking as much as I can. So it's kind of this chicken and egg solution.
yes.
Which one do I want? But at the moment, I still think, it's super important to be stacking as hard as I can. And as I built this pod, I'm not in a position to just like leave everything off and start living off my stack. We actually discussed this on a few episodes ago with Luke the Wolf from the Bitcoin Infinity show, where
Yeah, he's a good guy.
he's an awesome guy, and he said kind of he's got his fiat job, but he loves it. Like, he's in cybersecurity, and he's like I thrive of it. And I was like, Luke, like I got 2 fiat jobs, but like I don't really enjoy them. And he was like, yeah, but like he told me, he's like, are you ready to live off your stack? And I'm like, no, I'm not really ready to live off my stack just yet. So
Yeah,
he's like, so carry on pushing a little bit longer, and the time will come when you can separate that. So, and it's good, in my opinion, I want to share with all the listeners, is to set yourself goals instead of
yes,
saying one day where, sorry for my French, who the fuck knows when this day is going to come, if it's ever going to come. And the same thing goes with kids. Like, before I had kids, I was always telling my wife, let's wait. I want to be financially free, like when the time's right. But the time's never right. You got to make
yes.
the time right. And the same thing goes with goals. Set yourself a goal. May that be 12 months, 24 months, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Just work towards the goal. So, yeah, this is my 2 sats that I want to leave listeners with. I'm sure other people are also unhappy with what they're doing day by day. So just set a goal, set a timeline, and just work towards it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I have goals. I have a fiat job, and I use the fiat job to help me obtain stacking goals. Like,
Of course.
maybe eventually, like you said, someday I'll be ready to live off my stack, but not
Yeah,
yet.
not now.
Not, I mean, now maybe if I can get them coins back from 2009 that I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
but
But then it
that's
wouldn't
not.
be as fun. Imagine. Well, on one hand, like it would be nice, but then on the other hand, imagine, Derek, if you would be like a multi-millionaire, would you be building Nostrplebs and NostrNest today?
Yeah, but
Is a
I'd be
good
doing it from
question.
an island. Like, that's the
Ah,
difference. Like,
from your own island.
yeah, exactly. I'd be sitting on an island doing it. Like, ah,
I don't know. Like, I think with a lot of money, also like a lot of responsibility comes through. And I heard this saying a few times from some peers who made a lot of money in life, and they said, everybody wants to make like a shit ton of money, but they don't realize when you have a shit ton of money, you have more problems than you had than before you had the money. Because then it's like
yeah,
all the stress, what you do with it, and especially if we take Bitcoin out of the equation, imagine having 100 million in today's world. Like, what do? You can't keep it in the bank. Real estate, everybody's waiting for it to crash.
yeah,
Stock bubble is stock bubble. It is a bubble. I mean, stock market is like the bubble of all bubbles. Like when that thing bursts, like it's going to be ridiculous, and it is going to burst because it's just insane that Nvidia is worth what it is. Fucking graphics card company is worth like trillions of dollars, and
yeah,
what do you do with the money? And you can't even keep it like Pablo Escobar did in a warehouse, because with inflation that's just melting away. So
yeah.
like, what do you do, Derek? Right? And of course now with
Bitcoin solves that for us, right?
Bitcoin now, of course, solves it. But
Yeah,
but then also imagine having all those millions in Bitcoin. Like, I guess that self custody setup would be much more kind of worrisome. And I don't know if you would go down the Xapo bank style, having them in a bunker in a vault somewhere. But like, it just gets very stressful. Like,
yeah,
I'm pretty happy where I am, and I'm a true believer that everything happens for a reason. There's some bigger reason, Derek, that all that early version Bitcoin was lost, because
yeah.
who knows where you would be today with it.
Oh, absolutely. Like it. I'm happy where I'm at. I just like to joke about it. Yeah, but
Of course.
I like to do what I'm doing. I'm traveling around the world to go to various Bitcoin conferences, and I'm
Yeah.
speaking about Nostr, and I'm going to Nostr conferences speaking about Nostr. I'm onboarding people to Nostr. I'm growing Nostr. Like I really enjoy this. So
On the
I'd say
topic of conferences, I wanted to ask you if I may interrupt this
yeah,
T-shirt
yeah.
that you have at the back with Nostr. So Nostr was supposed to be there this year for my first, so to say, Nostr conference, but I unfortunately didn't make it in the end. There was some family matters that came up. But Luke, we extensively spoke about it. He said it was on a whole different level, and it was his first one. But since you've been, to the other, as you're wearing the T-shirt with Nostr Asia, how was Nostriga this year, and like how do you see it evolving in the short lifespan that Nostr has been around?
So well, I was at Nostrika, the very first Nostr
Yeah.
conference. I actually didn't go to
Ah,
this one. I didn't.
to Asia.
No, I didn't go to Nostrasia. Wanted to, but Tokyo's far away and expensive, and I wasn't able to go. But I did go to Nostriga, so I've been to two of the three Nostr unconferences, and based on people I talked to that were at the Nostrasia one, each one that keeps growing. Right, there
Mm.
was less than 300 people at the first one in Costa Rica. Well, the venue only held 300, so I know there was no
Mm.
more than that. And each time it seems like it doubles. Like we keep growing. There is more developer interest. There's more, builders. There's more creators. There's more regular users that just want to, grow their Nostr experiences and relationships. And I was in Riga last year for Honey Badger, so I was there,
Hmm.
last year and this year and comparing it. Last year was my first one. It was a great conference. I loved it, and that's part of the reason I came back. But having a Nostr conference, 2 days of a Nostr conference, and then 2 days of Baltic Honey Badger, just meant that there was more Nostr content and more Nostr panels and more Nostr related things to do, and more Nostrich family there. So it was great. I absolutely loved it. I wish you would have come. We would have had fun. But the next Nostr event you can go to, even if it's a smaller conference, you got to get to it. The
For
people were
sure.
great. As we said, it's high energy, high signal because everybody's building, everybody's bullish on everybody building, and just bullish on the future.
Amazing. Well, and I guess that the next one, the fourth one, is still up and kind of in the debates, right? It looks like it can be it's between South America or Australia. No, last time
Yeah,
I looked at it.
that's a fun topic. There's a lot of people that wanted it to be in Australia. The ostriches or the Nostr community that is
The
from
down under
Australia,
ostriches.
the down under ostriches, the ostriches. They really wanted it to be there. Obviously, it's in their home country. The thought was maybe that Julian Assange and Stella, his wife, would come possibly. So that was a good venue. I was for it. I thought it would be a great idea. But now I think the people that have been organizing these unconferences, I think they would like to have it be in maybe Brazil, Argentina, somewhere in South America.
Hmm.
And the nice thing about these is that there is a group of people that have been doing it over the past year and a half, a handful of people, and they can put on conferences anywhere. But that's not like an official Nostr conference. If
Yeah.
the ostriches, the down under Nostriches, if they want to have a Nostr Australia conference,
They
they
can do
absolutely
it.
can. Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
anybody can have one. I'm having one in central Pennsylvania here in 2 weeks. Like it's not going to be that big. There's going to be like 50 to 100 people there, but
Are all
like
the executives of the Nostr
yeah,
board coming?
it's an executive retreat. Yeah. But
Nice.
anybody can have an Nostr conference. You can put all your time and effort into it, and you can have as big or as a small one as you want. It's open. It's an open protocol. There is no official conference. These folks just kind of stepped up in the beginning for the first one in Costa Rica, and
Yeah.
they've been doing it. So who knows? Maybe in 2025 there'll be one in South America, and there'll be a one in Australia too. Who knows?
That would be amazing.
It's open. It's permissionless.
It's open source. FOSS all
Anybody
the
can
way.
yeah. Yeah, anybody can do anything they want, you know?
True,
Uh,
true.
I think though, no matter where it's at, I'll be there. Like I have to go. I didn't go to I didn't go to Austrasia and Tokyo, and I felt so much FOMO and so bad the whole entire time.
But
But
you're not doing it again, Derek. You're not
no,
missing out.
I can't miss out. I I was in let's see, there was a Nostr conference in Nashville called Nostrville last year in
Mm.
November. It was just a small conference at Bitcoin Park there. I was there for that. PubKey had an event in May of this year in New York City at their at their bar. That was pretty cool. A lot of fun there. And again, I'm having one in Pennsylvania here in 2 weeks. Like, if there's a Nostr conference and I can get to it, I'm going to try to be there.
You know what would be cool, Derek? To do a Nostr conference at an ostrich farm. That would be pretty cool.
There you go. You know what? That GG. I think you just had figured out the next idea. You're gonna
I
do
think
it,
we
aren't you?
found something. Well,
Yeah.
I live in a part of the world that's not that easy accessible. I currently live in Russia, where it's very hard to travel here, and there's no ostrich farms here.
Oh, okay.
But doesn't stop me going somewhere where there's
You
ostrich
know,
farms and
you just
setting one
gotta.
up.
Yeah, you just gotta travel to where an ostrich farm is, and like, listen, I'm gonna bring in like 1,000 tech nerds from all over the world, and they're gonna come to your farm, and they're gonna be like, "Why?" I'm just like, "It doesn't matter. I'm gonna make it happen."
Now imagine we can take it even further. Just speaking my thoughts, you can even, you can, what do you say? What do you call it? You can basically adopt your own nostrich, after your NPub, and maybe you can even, donate through your Lightning, so you have the full ecosystem of, and
Yeah.
orange pilling the whole town or county or wherever it is, where everyone's like, holy shit, like all these ostriches are getting so much attention. Like, what's happening with this? So maybe I'm onto something here. It's
All
we'll,
right,
we'll
all
see.
right. I gotta wait. All right, I got one more idea here, and then we'll get out of these weeds that we're getting deep in here. Have you ever seen lightning goats? Have you ever seen this
N-
website? It
no,
might be
but
like,
I've seen lightning chickens. I remember back when lightning just came about in, I believe it was early 19 or late 18. There was a website where you could
yeah,
zap lightning, and basically the chickens would get the drip
yeah.
feed. And we were
It's the
we were just going crazy over it.
it's
So
the
I guess the
exact
same
same thing.
concept, right?
Yeah, yeah. Lightning goats, lightning chickens. You pay a lightning invoice, and feed comes down, and you feed these animals. We need a lightning ostriches. Like, I'm not, like that's the next big thing right there.
Nice. So we'll leave this for another idea. We won't share it too much, even though it's fuss. To
It's
whatever
Foss.
listeners
Yeah.
listening, if you want to go ahead, and if you happen to have an ostrich farm, you're more than welcome to go set it up there. But I think that would be a nice kind of inclined thing to do. But yeah, now I want to bring it up from the nostriches to your next baby that you're building with NostrNest.com. I guess from my understanding, it's similar to kind of like X spaces, right? Where
Yes.
or so maybe you
Yeah.
could share a little bit more than my
Well,
analogy of it.
we'll rewind back to like January 2023. I was trying to leave, Twitter, and so many of us would hang out in Twitter Spaces all the
Yeah.
time, and listen to Bitcoin talks or just chat amongst friends. Well, so we needed a similar product, a similar service on Nostr if we were gonna to leave, Twitter. So I found this open source software called Jam by an entity called Jam Systems, and I spun up a Jam Systems instance, and I called it Nostr Spaces. And you know, uh,
It
really
didn't seem
quickly,
right.
really quickly, I'm like, well, if we're gonna get away from Twitter, we can't use Twitter's naming for stuff. And
Yeah.
I came up with the name NostrNest one night and moved, bought the domain name, moved it over, and it had very loose Nostr integration. It was using software from Jam Systems, and it allowed you to verify your NPub. It wasn't like a true Nostr client yet. It
Mm.
was very loosely very loosely integrated to Nostr. Over the next year, a few enhancements here and there, but mostly the project was pretty much stagnated. Finally, in about December 2023, I believe, I started working with the developer. His name's Kieran, who he is behind Zap.stream, and he's behind
Mm.
Snort.social and a bunch of Nostr implementations. And he helped me build the brand new NostrNest, where it's a full Nostr client, where you can sign in with your NSEC, you can sign in with your Amber signer, you can create an account, you can sign in with extensions, and it's a full-blown Nostr app. There's chats, there's reaction emojis, there's zaps. It's a better version of Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse, if you ever use Clubhouse. It's just a better version of it. And there's clients now that are starting to build that experience that people are used to on Twitter, like the
Mm.
Nostr, Nostur client for Nostr. You gotta say it like with like a French accent. uh,
Understood.
yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. That client, they have a integration to where you can create and join a nest directly from like the top of the app. Snort has the ability to join these directly from the app. Um, Better integrations are coming to other apps. I've spoken with the developer of Damus, developer of Amethyst, and the developer of Primal, and then they all said at some point in the near future, they'll work on adding NostrNest as well. So eventually, all
Amazing.
major clients will have support for nests, and you'll have a similar type experience where you're used to on Twitter or X, where you can start and join and create and jump around from all the different spaces, but it'll be for Nostr. And what's really cool about this is since Nostr Nest is all open source, anybody can spin up their own Nest server, or anybody can add the integration. So eventually, like right now, there's only one Nest server. Like I run it, it's my server. I pay the bill, but let's say this gets big enough and there's thousands of people creating nests out there, and they want to have their own server and they want their audio conversations to be on their own server. Well, that's fine. They can download the open source code, spin up a server, install the NostrNest application, and run it. And because it's all Nostr, these events for their spaces will show up on everyone's Nostr client, and you won't really know
Mm.
then which audio backend, like which audio server you're using. You're just joining a nest. You won't really know where your audio is going unless you would specify, or you would create one and specifically use like your default server. I kind of envision it. I don't know if you're familiar, but some Nostr clients allow you to pick like a default media server. So maybe in
Yeah.
the future you would pick a default audio server,
Hmm.
and maybe you would run one, or your friend runs one, or you want to use mine. You list your default media server or your default audio server, and then when you create a nest, it joins and creates, on those servers. So that way we're decentralizing our audio, and there isn't just one audio, server provider. There's dozens, maybe hundreds someday. So that's where we're at now.
Amazing.
It's really cool that it can function like this, that everybody can run their own Nest server if they want. My ultimate goal was maybe someday, you mentioned Start9 earlier, maybe
Yeah.
we can package this for Start9 because it works over Tor. So we package it for Start9, you deploy your own Nest server, and it's sitting on your home server with your home internet, so maybe you can only have a dozen or 2 dozen people on it, but that's fine for
Hmm.
you and your
Of
your own
course.
personal needs. Like that's fine. And
I was gonna say that was my follow-up question. Now, me being a big fanboy of Start9, and I need to
yeah,
get Matt Hill on because there's so many things I want to dabble through with him. But I'm my next app that I'm looking to install on my Start9 is to have my own, basically the relay, right? Because there's so many
yeah,
integrations on the community marketplace, and I was just thinking as you were mentioning, Derek, like who knows. I think it would be pretty straightforward that on the community marketplace we could have run your own
yeah,
Nest server, and then you are fully control of the audio of that, and then
yeah.
slowly people build it out.
Yeah,
That would make
absolutely.
sense.
And then because they're all Noster events, that are broadcast to relays, no matter
Hmm.
where your server is or who's running the audio server or where it started, everybody sees it. Like it's the
True.
beauty of an open protocol. Like everybody's servers all implementations will all work together.
Yeah, well, and it goes back to, which I love the quote that I used in your introduction that you shared with me. Kind of Nostr is this, social glue that glues all
Yes.
these, apps together. Which a lot of people, when they just hear of Nostr, and I'm sure most of my audience is not on Nostr yet, and they hear me dabble on about Nostr, and especially this episode is full Nostr blown, like
Yeah.
like it's deep down the hole. But a lot of people have this pre idea conception of, oh, it's just, it's a decentralized Twitter, but it's so much more than that.
Yes.
As you mentioned, some of them with Zapstream, and I mean, there's or Tune Street. There's so many things that is much more than just sending notes. And
Oh, it's so much more than that. It's like that's why I say it's the social glue that binds all of our applications together. Because literally every application that you use that has some type of social interaction, whether it
true.
be like a restaurant review on like Google Maps, or a
Mm,
Yelp review of a something, of some venue or something that you went to. Whatever these review apps are that you use, this could all be rebuilt on Nostr, and it all can be, and given enough time frame, it might be. Like, look at like maybe listeners are listening right now on Fountain. Like, Fountain
true.
a used to not be a Nostr app. It had its own
Mm,
social network with its own comments and follows and everything. Well, they rebuilt the entire application from the ground up to be a
yeah.
Nostr application. So all their socials are now Nostr socials. Like, all interactions are all Nostr.
It's
And
it's a double-edged sword though, because one of my favorite Bitcoin podcasts, which I don't know if you're familiar with them, but with the Ungovernable Misfits, with Max BBB. Have you heard
I've
of?
heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. So they, I think the other night I was listening to an episode, the latest one, and because they have this whole genre of this whole section of boosts. So people boost and they send their messages in. But now, since Fountain has become a Nostr client, a lot of the people, their listeners, of course, they're not a Nostr, so now they can't send their messages because they need to log in with a Nostr account. And Max is like, "Oh, we're gonna have to have Oscar on the show to
Oh, they just need
discuss
to
how."
but that's just they
But
had
it's
to
a nice push
create.
to get them,
Yeah,
right?
like
It takes what,
they
five
had to.
minutes?
Yeah, you had to create a Fountain account originally. Well, now
True.
you just create a Nostr account. It's just creating an account again. Like, you can
That
do
gives you
that. so
so much more access than just a
exact.
closed garden.
Yeah, and best case scenario, you say, huh? Now that I've seen this little portion of what Nostr can do, now I'm going to take my
What else is
NSEC
there?
and I'm going to paste it into another app, and I'm going to sign in, and I'm going to do more. Like,
True.
it's a nice gateway. I really think it is. Yeah, so it's a good way to purple pill people that are already using. But from a developer standpoint, though, think about it. If you're building a brand new app, you don't have to start from scratch. You can literally
Mm.
bootstrap the socials of your brand new application by tapping in and getting 100,000 users, or 50,000 active users, or whatever Nostr has.
It's a whole different paradigm shift where you're not building this whole new ecosystem where you need to go out and bootstrap everything and do some
Yeah,
marketing and get it through to people. It's literally like you plug in
you
your
plug into an
cable
existing
and then
network.
and you
Yeah.
have access to all these people. And then it's down to you how kick-ass of a service you want to do, and how much time and effort and
Yes.
energy you want to put into it, the more you will get out of it. And that's what I love about Nostr as well. It's kind of recently I read someone's I don't recall who it was, but they mentioned that kind of you get out of Nostr what you put into it. And
Oh,
that's what it
absolutely.
should be with everything. It's
Yeah,
not just, liking a few things and that's that. You need to engage in it. And if you want to
absolutely.
grow your account, you need to, from my understanding, you got to be replying more than you're posting notes, because you need to
Yeah.
engage and show your opinions and give
Yes.
some feedback.
You need to let people know that you're there. People
Yeah.
aren't going to do that for you. There's no algorithm that's going to do that for you.
Yeah.
So you need to be social. You need to reply to people's comments and let them know that you're there, because they're not going to know unless you try to make your voice heard yourself. It's proof of work. There is no blockchain, but it's literally proof of work.
It is like everything in life, right? Just like with family. If you're not putting in the time, if you're not putting in the love and care to your wife, I
You
mean,
do. You need to
that
do
proof
it.
of work is not going to get you far.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. So I guess like with most questions that I kind of close up the episodes with guests, I give them kind of like, what advice would you give someone starting out their journey in Bitcoin? But we've heard, I believe this is episode 63 or 64 that I'm recording. There's been a lot of Bitcoin advice going around. So I'll spin up the first question. What is the one or two pieces of advice you would give to someone that's looking to start their Nostr journey, Derek? What
Well,
would
you,
you
you
share
know,
with them?
my go-to is usually the proof of work that we were just talking about. So I'll reiterate that, but add on to it a little bit. Like I say that there's no algorithm. So on Nostr, we can choose to be our own algorithm. That means we need to be social. We need to figure out the types of people we want to follow. We want to build our actual feed, and we need to take control of our attention. That means that you need to, as we just said, proof of work. So you need to put in the work to follow people. You need to find the content. But most importantly, if you want to be social around your own content, you have to interact with people so they find you. You have to find their content and interact with it. If you post something and people reply to it, you need to reply to them and let them know that you saw their comment. You need to be social. You need to create your own algorithm. Other than that, I would say Nostr is still a bit technical, right? There
Mm.
is no centralized design team, and there is no growth team, doing A/B testing to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. These companies that exist now, or even these small developer teams that exist now, haven't been around for a decade or two and don't have $1 billion to invest to grow their product. So it's a grassroots movement. There's going to be some bumps and some hiccups on the way. So if you do experience problems and you don't like Nostr, that's okay. We know it's not perfect. Come back in 3 months. Maybe come
Mm.
back in a month. Check it out again. Don't give up hope. Nostr is constantly always improving from each week sometimes to the next, definitely month to month. It is significantly better, more stable, more features. So don't give up and be social. And if you do have problems, you can actually talk to the developers. You can't talk to like Elon Musk if there's a problem on X. You can't talk to Mark Zuckerberg if there's a
This is
problem
true.
on Facebook. But you can do that on Nostr. If there's a problem, you can literally ping the developer. You can DM them. You can make a public chat. You
Even
can
the CEO.
and the CEO, you can contact them, the developer on GitHub, create an
Yeah.
issue. Like you can be involved in the development process. You can't do that anywhere else. So use that. If you have a problem or a request, put it out there. Put it out there and try to get feedback and try to get help. There's always going to be a lot of people that are willing to help.
100%. I mean, you've put it perfectly, Derek. Just to add to it, I mean, things are going to break. It's inevitable. Things always
Yeah.
break. So make sure to bring a big box of plasters and
Yeah.
don't be afraid to get your fingers dirty, tickling into the Nostr engine and seeing what works, what doesn't. And if something is missing, like Derek's doing, just go up and spin it up yourself. You don't
Yeah.
have to be a full stack developer to do it. I
Yeah.
guess you need to have some knowledge,
Yeah.
but
Also, don't be married to one application. There's
yeah,
dozens and dozens of them. Like if you
true.
use, let's say, Primal, well, also check out Amethyst if you're on Android,
Mm.
or if you're on
iOS.
iOS.
Yeah, yeah,
There's Damus and there's
yeah.
Nostr and there's Primal and there's Nos. There's so many apps out there and we know that sometimes apps have problems. Well, then move over to another app. Like maybe use a web app. Use Coracle or use
True.
Weroster or NostrApps.com has so many of the apps that are out there. So check out that website and play around the ecosystem. Don't be married to one app. Be polyamorous in your app usage.
And that's the final conclusion. That's the beauty of Nostr, right? You just take your NSEC, you plug it into whatever client you want, and bam, you've got all your engagement there. You've got
Yes.
all of your notes. You've got all of the people you're following, the followers. Maybe I'll ask a personal question, Derek, if I may. How
Sure.
come my stats of people that I'm following and followers is different on different
Oh
clients?
yeah. Well, decentralization is hard, and there is no accurate follower count because
Huh.
there's thousands of relays out there, and the
Yeah.
way that these follower counts are counted is that they're going to look at all of the relays that you're using and see how many people on those relays have you in a contact list. But
Hmm.
people jump around and move relays all the time, and relays will hold different versions of contact lists, and sometimes relays don't respond in a timely manner. They're maybe they're
Okay.
lagged or slow, or you've hit that relay with a query too many times in a row and it's ignoring you right now, like you're rate limited on that relay for a minute or something. So follower counts are never going to be the same. There are some indexing services such as Primal or Nostr.band that try to index all of the content on all of the relays, and they will have more accurate accounts of
Okay.
of how many followers somebody has. But we like to say that follower counts are shitcoins because, like, in the end, it really doesn't matter. Like, engagement and being social is what matters. Sure,
Yeah.
we're human. We want to make sure that people are seeing what we're saying. So I get that, but in a decentralized manner, since there's no central authority saying this is like the official contact list that every relay should be using for this npub, there's no
Hmm.
real easy way to determine what someone's accurate follower count is. So you're going to see different numbers out there, and you could like refresh and get a different number each time you refresh. Like that's just how it is. Like
Gotcha. Well, it's not that I'm particularly like, oh my god, logging in. How do I have a new follower or not? But it was just like one thing that I noticed, like switching between my Amethyst and my Primal app. Like
yeah,
there's different counts, and I was like, how does that happen? But it
oh
makes
yeah.
sense with the different relays.
Yeah, like
That
Primal will
is
say I have like
practical.
140 or 50,000 people follow me. I look on Amethyst, and it's like 13. And then like then the next minute Amethyst will be like 3,000, and the next minute Amethyst will be like 20,000. It's
Always a different one.
yeah. I would say it's just something you learn that it's because of how relays work and how Nostr works. It's
Yeah.
hard to get an accurate count, and it's always going to change because it's just how it works in a decentralized manner. So
And to kind of top it off, like what has been created in the 3 years that Noster's been around is already phenomenal. Like here we're dabbling about like such niche things that
yeah.
like we've got so many things happening, and thanks to Derek with the NostrNest,
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
the voice spaces are coming to the Nostrville. And by the way, I really like the name. It's I think you did a great move with the nest. It's
Yeah.
kind of more within the ethos of the bird
Yes, that's
ecosystem
exactly. I was
than
sitting there thinking,
having
I'm like, man, I
spaces.
was like, we can't say space. Let's go with the bird theme. And I'm like,
Yeah.
flocks. Flocks? Nah, it doesn't sound right. Like, and nests somehow. I don't know. It worked.
But it worked perfect. And I guess before closing off, there's one more shout out to a project that I'm actually personally involved in
Okay.
that's being built on Nostr. And I think you're very familiar with it, but some listeners might not be, which is Setlantis, which is super
Yes.
early on. But I'm also the ambassador of St. Petersburg. It's not like we have a big presence of orange pillars and purple pillars, but that's what Gigi's here for, to slowly trickle and get people on.
Yeah.
But what I love about Setlantis, it's they're doing so many things put together, like this whole TripAdvisor of as a Bitcoiner going to another country, you're always relying on other fellow Bitcoiners recommendations, but there is no kind of one place where you can go and
Yeah.
see where you can go and spend your Bitcoin. But more importantly, the whole point is not to just spend your Bitcoin, but to get approval and reviews of people that have the same kind of more or less preference and the same ethos as you. So
Yeah.
that's what I love about Atlantis, and I'm super bullish on what the fantastic team at Atlantis is building, and I'm trying to give back as much kind of feedback and support on this project, because it's just another thing that shows, if you want to take it to a whole different level on building on Nostr, you can. And I think with Atlantis, it's an amazing way to orange people merchants, which I think is super important, because I find it from my own experience, going to the barbershop, going to the restaurants, and when I order the bill, I ask them, "Oh, can I pay in Bitcoin?" And it's the usual, "Oh no," or like, "Oh, haha,"
Yeah.
get a little chuckle. But like getting the merchants to, and this is something that I'm looking to do now in the next few months. I've already shortlisted a short list of businesses that I want to get them to kind of learn about Satlantis and how they can claim their businesses in the coming months. Through that, then telling them, look, you're opening yourself up to a whole bunch of Bitcoiners that maybe currently are not flying into
Yeah.
the country, but there's a lot of Bitcoiners here. There's, it's a country of 150 million people. The city alone of St. Petersburg is 7 million people, and there's nothing Bitcoin related. And I'm sure if you be the first barbershop that accepts Bitcoin, you're going to get a lot of people, that are Bitcoiners
Oh,
that
I'm
will come
sure.
to you
Yeah.
specifically. So
Yeah.
it'll be like your cheat code. And I've got this clean sheet in a massive city that I'm just looking to undabble. And then this whole daunting experience of getting your wallet and setting up and everything, like that is all eradicated with Nostr integrations through Satlantis, right? You have your page, you claim it, and bam, straight away you have your NPub. You can post your stuff there. It gets broadcasted everywhere, and then slowly, they get to the wallet part. Then we get to non-custody. Then I can start plugging in let me set you up with a Start9 node, so you can
Yeah.
verify all these
Yeah.
transactions, and it slowly builds up. So I'm super bullish, and I wanted to give a shout out to the amazing guys and of course Alex Svetsky, the amazing thing that he's pushing forward with Satlantis. I'm so bullish on everything that's getting built, but specifically with Satlantis, I couldn't finish a Nostr episode without doing a shout out to
They're doing
Satlantis.
some neat stuff. It's kind of unique, right? Because it's almost like think like a TripAdvisor Instagram hybrid type thing,
Correct.
but it's
Yeah.
neat because it allows you to do community building.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is, like, once you start to build that little community, you could even go further, and you could maybe spin up like a Ditto server for all these like merchants and local
Yeah.
people, so they have their own like private, not really
Their own
private, but
little nest.
their own little like nest. Yeah, that they use Satlantis for all their business stuff, and then they have like social content or something with Ditto, and then they use NostrNest for their business or their
For
meeting
their
meetups.
weekly
Yeah, like
or
and it's all
monthly
Nostr.
get-togethers.
It's very cool. Yeah, now Satlantis is a neat initiative. Yeah,
No, and
they're doing cool stuff.
the best part of it is that it's free, that nothing's restricted. Like where I'm currently at, without a VPN, you're basically you're screwed. There's no X, there's no YouTube, there's no nothing. Literally, Nostr is the only thing I don't need to switch on my VPN to access. Like Primal and Amethyst are always accessible, and it's amazing. So that's another thing in especially the countries that are sanctioned down into kind of the Internet of Things. Nostr kind of breaks it away because there is no CEO, there's no regulatory body that needs to abide by these draconian rules on free speech and what you can say and what you can't. Like it's a system that we're all building, and the more that we build and help out each other, the more we win all together. So I mean, it's what a time to be alive, Derek.
Absolutely, what a time to be alive.
Well, I think this is a perfect way to close it up. Derek, I would like to thank you again for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor having you on. I've been following you for many months now, ever since Prague, and I'm happy that I got the chance to have you on the show and chat all things Nostr. And believe it, Derek, this is definitely not the last time. We are only getting started here with our Bitcoin and Nostr journey. So we will definitely have you back on in the future, for sure, sometime next year as, NostrNest evolves. And who knows what else Derek spins out into the Nostrverse. But yeah, until then, I wish you all the best of luck with all the things you have going on. I guess there's one question that I missed out. I asked guests, where do I send the listeners? In your case, there's no X pages, there's no Insta pages. There is, you just open your favorite client on Nostr, type in Derek Ross, and you'll find him.
You're gonna find a bunch of spammers, unfortunately,
Okay.
too.
So what's the handle to use?
Well, this is where we go back to your Nostr address. I'm the only Derek Ross at
At Nostrplebs.com.
Nostrplebs.com. So Derek Ross at Nostrplebs.com. Search me on your favorite Nostr client. Toss me a follow. Say hey. Give me a GM. Give me a GN. Give me a PV.
Nice.
All right.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Derek. Again, best of luck with everything, and
Thank you,
looking
Gigi.
forward to having you back on the show soon.
Great. All right. Thank you.